Hi, I'm Punita here from Huawei Global Training Center, and today we're going to discuss about troubleshooting RF units fault. So this is part 10. So for external interference characteristic, stable external interference has the following typical characteristic. So two interference signals received by a receiver are correlated but with different power. So they have the same impact on the RTWP, received total wideband power. And external interference occupies a certain bandwidth. So monophony interference does not carry any useful information, however, it seldom exists. And external interference is received only by antennas, which simplifies the troubleshooting procedure. So procedure to determine the external interference. So how to determine whether external interference exists or not? So step 1, check whether PIM interference exists. Shut down downlink channels and then check whether RTWP is high. If RTWP is normal, means there is a PIM interference. Step 2, if the RTWP is very high after step 1, check whether external interference exists. So what we can perform? Disconnect an RRU or RFU from the jumper, then connect the RRU and RFU to a match load or dummy load, direct open circuit to check whether RTWP falls within the normal range. If it's normal, external interference exists. So this is how we determine the external interference concept. So this usually will be done on site. So let's look into the concept of remote electrical tilt antenna. And red antenna can be remotely controlled because it is equipped with a drive called RCU, radio control unit. The radio control unit is installed closely to the RET antenna. So from the figure, we can see the structure and working principle of an RET antenna equipped with the RCU. So how to troubleshoot a VSWR fault? So the fault description. An alarm was reported. RF unit VSWR threshold crossed is reported if there are VSWR fault in the RF channels of an RF unit. So the possible causes could be related to VSWR alarm threshold setting problem, hardware installation improper, supported frequency band mismatch between RRU and other components, a VSWR related circuit fault in the RRU. So this is problem 1, problem 2, problem 3 and problem 4. So let's see how we can troubleshoot. Step 1. Check the detected VSWR value when the alarm is reported. So check whether the VSWR threshold of the RF unit. So we can list the RRU to query the VSWR value. So what we have set the threshold. So we can list the RRU, and if you want to modify the value, we can modify it. So let's look into this command. Let's look into the command. So basically the command that we want to execute is related to the list RRU. So basically you can see from the list RRU, we have the value of the VSWR over here. So this is the VSWR threshold setting. So let's say we are not convinced with this VSWR threshold, you can modify the RRU. So basically modify RRU will be able to modify some of the values that we would like to change. If it's not related, or probably it will make some improvement. So that is the first session. So next we will move into display VSWR. So display VSWR, we can view the current VSWR value. But when we run the start VSWR test, it will query the offline VSWR value. So that is the changes. So basically we will look into these two commands. So first display VSWR. So let's look into the current VSWR value. So this is not service impacting because we are just measuring based on the current load, which is null. And I'm going to repeat this with start VSWR, but just ensure that it is being run when it is needed, because this is service interrupted. Running this command is actually service interruption. So basically you need to know when to run this command. So because it can actually interrupt the services, because we are going to go through the branches where I got traffic inside. So but because this is a demo, I'm going to proceed and show the results. So this will take some time to view the results. So while waiting, we will continue with our lecture on other parts. So We have carried the start VSWR test and we have already viewed the display VSWR test. So basically, if the values are more than expected, so the standard value should be less than 1.5, but if it's more than 1.5, then that indicates there is a problem. Same goes to start VSWR test values. So if the values are large, you have to collect the necessary information and contact the project team for solution. So let's look into our results that we have run earlier. So this is my VSWR test. For this case, both are normal. So 1.12 and 1.17 and the test results is successful. So basically they are less than 1.5. So this is considered there is no VSWR related problem for this particular RRU or antenna system. So let's check into the feeder connection at the local end. So check whether the frequency band is supported by the RF unit. It's consistent with the other components of the antenna system or not. So for this, you can use a site master to ensure the distance between the point of the large VSWR value to the test point of the VSWR test. If site master is not available, you can locate the fault by using the isolation method. So for this, you need to add load, dummy load section by section, different parts of the feeder at the local end. Then you need to start VSWR test on each of the isolation of the feeder to locate the fault. Q&A session. If the RTWP is abnormal, external interference exists. No, the statement is wrong. Question number 2. If the VSWR value is greater than 10, it means that all output power is reflected back because no feeder is connected to the related antenna port or the related feeder is bent or damaged. The statement is true or false? Yes, this statement is true. So the summary of this section, troubleshooting RF unit fault. We have learned about external interference characteristic, procedure to determine the external interference, remote electrical tilt antenna, and last but not least, we have learned about troubleshooting VSWR faults. Thank you. That's all from me. Hope you enjoyed the session. Bye.